Welcome to the Florida Divorce Podcast, your source for the information you need to successfully get through your divorce and into the next exciting chapter of life. Now, here's your host, Attorney Scott Kalish.
Hey everyone, my name is Scott Kalish, and I am a divorce and family law attorney here in South Florida. Today I want to talk to you guys about how quickly a divorce can get started. Now, surprisingly, a divorce can get started pretty quick. That's probably one of the quickest aspects of the case. To give you an idea or a sense of how we get started, I want to run through the steps or the stages to getting a case rolling and getting a case filed and ready to go. So it all starts with the petition for dissolution of marriage. Once we get the information from a client, right? So certain information from a client, such as, the names of each parties, names and birth dates of any children, the date of marriage, the place of marriage, a basic understanding of what the issues are in the case, such as, is there any property that has to be divided? Does one spouse need alimony? Is there, a house, a piece of real property? Does that property have to be partitioned? Things like that. Once we get a firm understanding of the facts, we begin to draft the petition for dissolution of marriage, which is a really general document. The petition for dissolution of marriage is not some 17-page legal treatise. It's a very broad document that we file to get the case started. That's typically between 3 and 4 pages long. A lot of it is standard language that we use in every case, so it doesn't take long at all to get the petition drafted. So once we get the petition drafted, we also draft what's called a summons, basically just a legal document that has to be filed, which will ultimately serve as notice to your spouse that a case has been filed in the county where you guys lived in, and that a case is now pending. So once that's drafted, we go ahead and file the drafted petition along with the drafted summons and a couple of other documents, which are pretty basic and uniform that we use in almost every case. We file those documents with the clerk of court, and we wait until the clerk of court reviews them and approves them. And then once the clerk approves them, we will get a notification, an email from them assigning us a case number and also stamping the summons, right? We need the clerk to stamp the summons. That's really important. So the filing fees, just while I'm discussing this topic, the filing fees are about $416 right now to file for divorce in Florida. Typically, it takes the clerk, I would say, around 24 hours, between 24 to 48 hours to review the case and assign us a case number and get us that summons back. But once we get the summons back, then that's when we're ready to actually serve your spouse. We basically take the documents that were submitted to the court that now have our case number on them, and we forward them to our process server, and the process server goes out, locates your spouse, and affects service on them. And that's, kind of like in the movies, where someone, the process server knocks at the person's door, asks them their name, and gives them the documents. So once that's done, then your spouse will have 20 days to file a formal response, okay? And that's essentially how the case gets started. Now, that whole process, right, from drafting to filing probably takes, I would say, depending upon how busy we are in our firm, I would say between 24 hours and 72 hours, right? A couple days, 2-3 days, just depending upon our caseload at that particular time. But it could happen very quickly, especially if it's a pretty, run-of-the-mill case. It won't take that long at all to draft it. So I would say, safe to say, within a week from hiring to, within a week, we can pretty much file it and get the person served if their spouse doesn't evade service, obviously. So that's essentially how long it takes to start a divorce, literally a week, if that. And then, like I said before, they have 20 days to file a response once they're served. And that's essentially how quickly a case can get started, okay? So if you like this podcast, please give it a 5-star review. If you have any questions for me and you'd like them answered, I could do it on the podcast. Just give me permission. You can email me your question and whether or not you want me to share your question on the podcast at scott@kjlawfla.com. Again, scott@kjlawfla.com. Thanks so much and have a great day.
Thanks for listening to the Florida Divorce Podcast. To learn the 10 secrets behind every successful divorce, visit floridadivorcepodcast.com. If you'd like Scott's help in your divorce case, go to kjlawfla.com.